So something caught my attention. And this is really challenging, it's challenging with things the way they are and here's what I want to talk about. All right, so profanity in politics. Now, there's someone young enough to be my child, and I've seen a little bit from him, and to me, he's adorable. I mean, I don't know what he would think about me, frumpy old middle aged woman, something like that. That's possible. Well, do I care? I mean, not really. um, I think about the importance of when we're a little bit older, not forgetting that younger adults have different experiences than we do, and maybe we've been on a curve of mess, and I mean the mess is always there, but maybe we could have could we draw it as curves and they're curves of mess? Could it be? I mean, I don't know. Math is not my strongest area for sure, and I'm not suggesting doing something with statistics, but maybe qualitatively drawing curves of mess, different curves of mess. Here is a curve of mess for this age group. Here is a curve of mess for this age group. And it's not quite that simple, but thinking about, I think about, for example, well, do I want to give that example? What I want to do is this, I think about going through school and things that different sort of age groups have been through. So adults older than me, some of them did this ducking thing, and that had to do with nuclear, if there was a nuclear attack, duck and cover. I think that's what it's called, and I think there might be videos. And is that Yertle the turtle? I think there's a character. All right, so that's people older than me who could have been drafted to Vietnam, and that's not everyone. I don't think that's everyone who could have been and who was, but that's at least some portion of adults that age who, I'm thinking of people who right now are in their early 70s, and I don't know what all age group that covers, but we didn't have that. What do we have? My age group, and what am I, 57? So tornado drills, fire drills, that was it. Someone in their 30s might have had active shooter drills. So those have been going on for a pretty long time. I think about active shooter drills. I think about nuclear ducking cover. and I do have to laugh thinking about how ineffective. And I have to comment on the active shooter drill practice. I mean, I was in a special education classroom one time, self-contained special ed, and it was really frightening for the kids, even practicing it. Yeah. So, um, so so and when I think about this younger adult, or I think, yeah, he might just think I'm a frumpy middle-aged whatever, well, it's within his life experience of being at a school where there some that went on, that happened. So not only a drill, an actual, do I want to use the word incident? I mean, is it my place to use that word? What words should I use, because it's really overwhelming. The internet. I think we could say the internet is really so much the cause of these things going on. And yeah, um but yeah, so maybe there's might have been a profane word or two, and I was like, good for you. I love how feisty you are. But I want to talk about it because I just saw something from someone older than me. I think older than me, that used a profane, an insulting, crass word. And let's talk about this for a minute. And I hope it's okay to say let's and we, the editorial we, perhaps. There's language that's a little bit too high, a little bit too disconnected, and kind of snooty, lofty. I could use words like that. There also is crass, okay, and I think there's a whole lot of an area in between where people can use words that might not be incredibly academic, might not be hard to understand, might be pretty basic. Well, we are talking about politics, and that's a challenging thing. I want to say it's a mess, but what I want to comment on is the way that so much has. I don't think I want to describe it as ghetto because not everyone in the ghetto talks like that. But when you see and I don't know, does somebody want to look at incidents of profanity and break it down by party? When political speech has become profane language and crass and potentially crass things. Well, what comes to mind when I say that is thinking of all the violence there is right now. So there's political violence. Okay, so we have political violence, and we also have persons in election appointed positions and running for office using profane language. And when it's someone my age or older, I don't think this about the younger person. All right. When it's someone my age or older using language like that, I do think thug. All right, so when politics has become that, more and more, and it's never really good, and sinking ship comes to mind, but you know, I just want to talk about it for a minute. When it has become that low and that ugly, well, what do you do? I mean, I think one of the things you have to do is notice it, not ignore it, recognize that that could be another indicator of violence or potential violence. And again, there are people who are real well spoken and people with real prestigious, if I want to use that, do I want to use that word and think about it like that? There are people that have gone to institutions, have degrees from institutions that are, prestigious institutions that have a lot of, those institutions are powerful institutions. That's not always a good thing. And sometimes you're like, wow, how did that person go to that university? Oh yeah, well, their father did. And yeah, so there's some things like that. There's a whole range of things that we could talk about as far as educational background, formal education. How much does it matter? Power, elite stuff, and language. Well, if when I mean, I can think of someone that went to a university like that, was a legacy student, and where I mean, as far as language, mission accomplished, and things like that. I mean, well, I don't know what to say. That's a club that does a whole lot of harm. Meanwhile, pointing fingers and things like that. But I don't know about everyone else. I just get so many emails every day that have to do with elections, and it's like, wow. I mean, there's another primary, there's another election. What state is it? And it's become pretty chaotic. But when there is profanity, when there is name calling, and I want to say when it's people my age and older, middle-aged and older, then I think that's really something to not ignore. And I think that needs to be called out. So I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm calling that out. That's not okay. Not okay. It is a reminder what the administration is like. It's a reminder of what is behind the administration. And yeah, they're also are clearly billionaires, and I mean, it's kind of stupid. It's all, but yeah, just a few words. Thinking about, I don't think that a person should have to try to, speak it, sort of like plan the way that they speak so that they reach the most people. I think a person just needs to speak the way that they speak, but when it's aggressive, when it is profane, crass, things like that, and that's someone in office or running for office or an appointed position, then that I mean, I think can we say that's a bit uncivilized? And yeah, humans can be that way. And as far as profanity, I use plenty. I do try to adjust my speech for who I'm communicating with. And I don't know, and I ain't ever running for office, so I'm not going to worry about the way I talk and the way I talk, but I just think about, real, a person might say high speech, academic. There might be histories of sort of elite stuff in families, money, and we could talk about history, and then thug, thug, and well, I just wanted to comment on it. I'm not voting anymore, and but I can't ignore it. I can't ignore it when there are people that want us dead, when there are people that, really, it's unreal to me, and it's important not to ignore barbarity. It's important for some of us to call it out, and I think noticing language is not a bad idea. Noticing the words that a person uses when a person is being aggressive and harmful.